first I thought I was dreaming.
Everybody that ran by me died.
I heard my husband, screaming, yelling.
They were screaming and running, throwing their arms up in the air.
My mind just went blank.
I stood for like a few seconds and then I fell on the floor.
You could see that smoke rolling. I mean, like I said, it was like a tidal wave.
You can't see, you can't feel, it's heat, it's crackling.
It was just clouds of gray, black, thick.
As fast as I can crawl, the heat was there. It was a matter of seconds, and my kid would have been dead.
The feelings were like, this can't be real. This isn't happening to us.
The voices you just heard are voices of people who never dreamed they would ever be in a fire. They survived because they planned to get out alive. Some simply were lucky, just like the people in this apartment. The flames which swept through the building that was here left these 50 homeless. It also left 4 dead, including a 14-month-old girl. Some people survived because they knew what to do when the fire struck. One family used the door to save their lives. Another man went back into the smoke. He died. 15 of the residents were saved because they had smoke detectors. But luck is just not enough, because this year, 60,000 Americans will be severely burned in fires, and 6,000 of you will die in fires. That's because you were never brought up to understand what a real fire is really like. Now, what you're about to see might frighten you, but remember this: fear and respect of fires could save your life. It's already saved hundreds of lives, and that's why McDonald's, First Alert, and WCBS TV are bringing you this: Plan to Get Out Alive.
Come on, guys! Hold on, come, I'll feed it to you.
So what can you expect if you're in a fire? There are 4 basic facts you must learn if you are to survive a fire. First, a fire is black. You won't be able to see in a fire. Second, the smoke and the gas will kill you, not the flames. Third, the heat is so intense it defies description. The heat alone will kill you. And fourth, time. You have no time in a fire. You must get out. Let's take fact number 1. If you've never been in a fire before, this will come as a complete shock to you. If you think this is what a real fire is, you're dead wrong. It's what the movies and television have led you to believe a fire is like. They have to do it with enough smoke and fire so you can see the action and the drama. But a real fire is this: the same scene: screaming, noise, burning, panic, the blackness. In a real fire, you are blind. To your horror, you will learn that in a real fire, you cannot see. Fire is black. It is not light.
Black wasn't even a color black.
I couldn't see my hands in front of me.
You see nothing. You just feel heat and cracking.
It's extremely dark. It's hot. It's scary.
Sooner or later, according to statistics, each one of us will experience the terror of a serious fire. What's it feel like? First, forget about what you think a fire is like. Let us take you into a fire. It's frightening. To help you survive if it happens to you, we went to the New York City Fire Department Training Center, where firemen are taught to survive. This is part of what a fire is really like.
Can you see me? To the left. I'm totally disoriented now, and I've only come in, what? Okay, now I want to stand here for a minute to see. Whoops, I'm hitting something. Okay, I can see what you mean. I have to feel around. Let me just turn toward the camera, where my cameraman, Nick Fisher, is. He's somewhere in front of me. Nick, I don't know whether you can see me. I can see a light over a camera, and you're about, what, a foot away from me. You're less than a foot. You're right on top of me, and I can't, there, okay, I see the front of the camera now. Now I'm going to turn back toward the fire. I feel the heat is coming. Now, I just walked into the wall here. Good God. But I'm totally, it feels good to see the fire. It's crazy as it seems, because it gives me a point of reference. That other room frightened the hell out of me, because I had no way of telling. It was like being an astronaut in space. Yeah, I didn't know if I was upside down. I'd never find a door in this Okay, I can feel the wall. I just can't imagine how terrible it would be to be inside a room like that without anyone with me, with total disorientation, not being able to see or feel anything. It's total panic. You know, before this, I always thought that fire meant light. It's not. It's black. It's a panicky black, and it's hard to describe. And only somebody who's been in the fire could tell you what it feels like.
So the first fact you must know about a fire to survive is that it's dark. It's not light. Expect not to see. It will be pitch black. The second thing you must learn is the danger of smoke and gas.
This car, with its motor running, is pumping out carbon monoxide into an enclosed garage. Carbon monoxide is invisible, and it's odorless. It will put you into a deep, deep sleep and kill you. But I'm wearing a firefighter's air mask. But this is the same carbon monoxide that's mixed in the smoke that you breathe in fires. And in a fire, you'll never stand a chance.
You're sound asleep. It's the middle of the night, and a fire breaks out in your home. This acrid, noxious cloud of burning plastics and rubber comes pouring into your bedroom. Do you think you'd wake up? Do you think you'd smell the smoke and take action?
Well, I guess I'd call the fire department.
I would wake up, I would wake my family, and I would pray that the elevators were working and get the hell out.
I have a terrible nose, but that I would smell.
But the frightening fact is, the smell of the smoke would not wake you up. If anything, it would put you into a deeper sleep. Most victims, awake or asleep in a fire, will die from the smoke and gas inhalation. They will not die from the flames. Those who survive know the tragic effects of smoke and gas.
The smoke poured in, then it was like a tidal wave. It was just like a big wave.
My two sons were overcome by the fumes. They died in their sleep.
90% of the people we run into look like they're asleep, except their faces are dirty from the soot, because they've died from the gases.
If you ran out into this smoke-filled hallway, not only would you not be able to see, but you couldn't breathe. It's like holding your head underwater, like drowning. Now you add to the smoke the invisible gas, carbon monoxide. It's in every fire. It's odorless. It numbs your brain. It puts you into a deep sleep, just as an anesthetic would.
At first, I thought I was dreaming. I know that I couldn't move my arms and my legs. And it was terrifying at first. It was because I've never been in a situation like that before. I've never been in a situation where I physically couldn't move when I wanted to, and it was downright scary.
He would have been a victim, but his father pulled him out of the fire. The lesson here is simple. In most cases, it's not the flames that will kill you, it's the smoke and the gas. Because when you're asleep, you can't smell the smoke. You lose your sense of smell, and that's why the noise of a smoke detector is your first line of defense.
The third fact you must learn to deal with is the heat. Your body simply stops functioning. You die within seconds from the heat alone. It is indescribable.
It hits you like being hit by a Mack truck. It's so hot that there's no way to explain it.
Watch what happens in a specially controlled fire. The couch is burning. At 150 degrees, your body will stop working. Your lungs will literally vaporize. You'll fall unconscious. In this living room, the fire has been underway for slightly over a minute, and the temperature in that smoke layer is an unbelievable 700 degrees. Instant death if you stuck your head into that smoke unprotected. The heat in a fire is mind-boggling.
As fast as I can crawl, the heat was there, and the bottom of my shoes were melted.
The heat was so intense that it cracked the porcelain utilities in the upstairs bathroom.
If you breathe air that's 150 degrees, it would scorch your lungs and kill you instantly. Overhead in the darkness, it's well over 600 degrees. It's hot enough up there to melt wiring and plumbing. Let us show you how hot a fire can really get.
Watch the heat in this room build to explosive heights. What you see happening here is called a flashover. The intense heat reaches a point where almost everything in the room is burning. The temperature is now hundreds of degrees, and the smoke itself is ready to ignite, blowing out the entire structure. There's no chance at all of survival in this heat. So fact number 3 is the heat. It is mind-boggling. The heat alone kills in seconds. One breath of superheated air can destroy your lungs. Fact number 4, time. Most people think they have time in a fire, but in a fire, there is no time.
The front windows blew out, and it swept that wall of flames right up that hall. It was a matter of seconds, and my kids would have been dead.
I smelled smoke. We went back to get the dog and a few valuables, and by the time we went back, it was too late. We couldn't get out.
Here's what we mean by time. A wastebasket fire begins. It's undetected. Within a minute, the sofa is on fire, and the smoke is beginning to fill the room. But it hasn't set off the smoke detector in the next room. Upstairs, there's no warning yet. Downstairs, the heat is intense enough to knock you unconscious if you try to enter. Now, it's 2 minutes into the fire. The smoke detector goes off. This is your first warning there's a fire. The smoke pours upstairs. Downstairs, it's now 3 minutes. The room is fully involved. The thick choking smoke is lowered. Nobody would survive in this room. Now, it's 4 minutes into the fire. The upstairs and downstairs hallways are impassable. If you didn't have an escape plan, you're trapped. It's been only 2 minutes since the smoke detector sounded the alarm. In all, it took 5 minutes after the fire started for the gas, smoke, and heat inside the house to kill everyone.
In 2 to 5 minutes, forget it. It's all over.
So it turns out that time may be your biggest enemy in a fire. You may have less than a minute or two to get your family out safely. So there you have it. Basic facts which most Americans don't know. 1, a fire is black. It is not light. You will not be able to see in a fire. Expect that. 2, the smoke and the gas in a fire will kill you, not the flames. 3, the heat is so intense your body simply shuts down. You will die within seconds. And 4, time. You have no time in a fire. You must get out. If you know these 4 basic facts, you can plan to get out alive. Let's see how you respond to these common fire situations. How would you respond to this common accident in the kitchen, a grease fire? Would you reach for a lid cover if it were handy and place it over the flames? Or would you pour baking soda on the flames? Would you use a fire extinguisher? Or would you use water?
I would use baking soda. I would put a lid on it.
The baking soda, I think, works if you don't have a fire extinguisher.
The correct way to deal with a grease fire, use a lid cover, baking soda, or fire extinguisher. How well do they work? Watch. The lid cover removes the supply of oxygen that the fire needs, and the flames die down quickly. Know where the baking soda is handy, and pour it over the flames. You may expect a slight flare-up, but keep pouring, and the fire will die. A fire extinguisher will quickly douse the flames, and the newer fire extinguishers cause very little mess. The one thing you don't want to do is to throw water on a grease fire. Watch what happens if I do. This kitchen fire is now getting out of control. In your home, how long do you think it would take for this same fire to get out of control? Do you think it would take 30 seconds? Do you think it would take a minute? Do you think it would take 5 minutes, or do you think it would take 10 minutes? What do you think? Most people think they have at least 5 minutes or more, but that's wrong. The correct answer, you may have no more than 30 seconds before the fire gets out of control. The advice is get out of the kitchen, alert the family, leave the building, call a fire department from outside the building. Don't go back into the house or apartment. Wait for the firefighters to arrive and take over. In the wrong hands, a match or cigarette lighter can kill. For parents, consider this interesting question. Which do you think would be more dangerous in the hands of a child? A loaded .38 or a cigarette lighter? Think about it for a moment. It's a question that Fire Marshal Charlie Wagner must answer every night when he comes home from work. He locks his gun and his lighter in a drawer.
This is more dangerous than a loaded .38 revolver placed on a kitchen table in front of a child. This is more dangerous because this can kill dozens of people.
Children are intrigued by fire, blowing out matches or candles. Ask your youngster where the matches are kept, and you may be in for a surprise.
They're in the kitchen on top drawer. She keeps them on a counter in a cookie jar. They're on the counter next to the refrigerator in the kitchen.
Here's a question. Children killed from playing with matches and lighters are usually how old? 3 years, 6 years, or 9 years? The answer shocks many. It's toddlers, usually around the age of 3, killed while playing with lighters and matches. Children don't mean to kill with matches, nor do careless smokers mean to kill with cigarettes, yet both do. Question: true or false? Most fires caused by careless smoking are in the bedroom.
I think it's true because people probably fall asleep in bed, the cigarette hits the mattress, it smolders and starts a fire.
True, people get too relaxed and they forget about the fact that they're smoking.
I think a lot of people that smoke in bed. They'd have their last cigarette before they go to sleep at night and fall asleep with the cigarette still burning, and so that starts a fire.
The correct answer is false. Most careless smoking fires occur in any room of the house: the living room, the television room, the playroom, any room you smoke in.
You're at a party. The folks are smoking and drinking, having a good time. And unnoticed to anyone, someone has dropped a cigarette butt on the couch. How long do you think that cigarette butt would continue to smolder before bursting into flame? Do you think it would be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour? Or maybe you think it would smolder for 3 hours before breaking into flame. The answer is that cigarette butt could smolder for well on to 3 or 4 hours before bursting into flames, well after you've gone to bed.
Now, let's see how well you can plan to get out alive if a fire breaks out in your home.
The house is on fire. There's smoke and there's flame. How much time do you think you have to wake up the family, to call the fire department, to look for the valuables, look for the pet? How much time do you have to fight the fire? How much time do you think you have?
How much time do you have before this fire could kill you? 1 minute? 5 minutes? Do you have 10 minutes? Or 15 minutes?
I would say about 10 minutes.
I don't know, 10 minutes?
About 10, 15 minutes, I guess.
The correct answer is 1 minute before you are trapped.
You don't have time. Time is your enemy. You measure it in seconds and minutes. If you didn't get out of that building in the first 2 minutes, you were dead.
But let's begin at the beginning. The smoke detector goes off. It's the middle of the night. How would you react? And answer truthfully. What is the first thing you think you'd do? Would you call the fire department? Would you rush off to see what set off the alarm? Would you wake everybody up? Or would you run for your valuables? Would you start getting dressed?
I would start getting dressed.
I'd call the fire department first.
And I'd run for the valuables.
Most people would do the wrong thing. The correct answer is first wake everybody up and then get out of the house. It's important to remember time is against you. First, make sure everyone knows there's a fire, then get out. Make your calls from outside the burning building. You've taken the first step. You've awakened everyone. But as you try to get out, you run into dense smoke. What would you do? Would you take a deep breath and make a run for it? Would you crawl toward safety? Or would you go back into your room and close the door?
Back in the room.
I tried to get out of the stairway.
The correct answer is you would go back into your room and close the door.
If you allow it to remain open, the fire and smoke will follow you. It will spread through the house rapidly, killing everyone. The fire will spread with enormous speed. So remember, you must keep the door closed. That way you keep the fire and the smoke away from you.
If the firefighters don't get to you in minutes or there's no help, jumping from a one-story dwelling would save your life. The fire in your house is now out of control, and you must evacuate as quickly as possible. True or false? The best way to make sure that everyone gets out safely is get out together. Is that true, or do you think that's false?
Go out together, everyone together, okay?
I think it's false. Because if you waited to get a whole group out, you'd probably all get stuck.
Everybody should get out at the same time.
The correct answer is false.
Sometimes you can get out together, but in most cases you have to leave individually, and that means you must have an escape plan. You must know where the exits are. You must know who is to help the youngest and the oldest. You must have a predetermined meeting place outside the building. And above all, you must hold fire drills so you know what to do.
If you live in a high-rise, there are other facts you should know in planning to get out alive.
You're trapped in a high-rise apartment. There's smoke, there are flames, and there's panic. But you've closed the doors against the heat, the flames. How long do you think you can remain alive inside this apartment? Do you think you could stay alive 15 minutes, 30 minutes? Could you survive in this apartment for 45 minutes? Or could you remain alive for over an hour? How much time do you have? The correct answer is more than 1 hour.
Most high-rises today have doors which will contain the fire for several hours. The floors in high-rises are also protective and will keep the fire at bay for several hours, too. You're back in your room. The firefighters have arrived on the scene. What should you do? A, call the fire department and give your location in the building. B, open the window to get air. C, hang a signal out the window to give your location. Or D, place wet towels around doors to keep out the smoke. The correct answer is all of the above. According to fire experts, you should open your windows top and bottom to ventilate your room. Stay at the window. Keep your head at the bottom for the fresh air intake. And if firemen are busy elsewhere in the building, don't panic. They'll only come for you if there's danger, and you may end up sitting the whole thing out quietly in your room.
The questions you've just answered underscore the points that a fire is black. It is not light. You won't be able to see. That smoke and gas will kill you and not flames. That the heat is so intense, it alone can kill you. And that time, you have no time in a fire, you must get out. Now let's apply that knowledge and planning to get out alive. First, how you cope with the darkness.
This is your bedroom. You've lived in it for years and you know it intimately. Yet when a fire breaks out, in minutes, it will turn into this.
You're sound asleep in your bed, so you won't know this is happening. There's a fire in a room down the hall. The smoke is coming into your bedroom, filling every nook and cranny. It's blinding, choking smoke. It's slowly lowering to the bed. You won't smell the smoke because in your sleep, you can't smell smoke.
Suddenly, you're awake. You've heard screams, fire sirens. You spring out of bed. But where's the door, the window, the closet, the lamp? This is what a fire is like.
You will find yourself in total blackness. Fire is black. It is not light. You can't see. You must get down on the floor. If you do get down on the floor, you'll suddenly discover there's more light. There's more air. The choking smoke is above you. At this point, you must remember three very important things. One, you get more latitude to move. The choking smoke and the hot air is above you. Here, too, use a flashlight. Have one next to your bedside for this sort of an emergency. It will help you find your way out. And third, you must have an escape plan. Know which way to move in the case of fire. At this level, I can get out. I know what my escape plan is. I've rehearsed it. I'm heading toward the exit. The door lies in this direction. If you know what to expect, you can get out alive. Know what to expect. Katie Kramer knew what to expect. She saved her family.
I was sound asleep in my bed, and suddenly I felt something hot on my feet, and I looked, and my bed was catching on fire. It was black, totally black, and you couldn't see a thing in the room. I crawled over here and out the hall and got my mother and sister and father.
So remember three key things. To help you survive the darkness in a fire, you've got to get down on the floor and crawl. A small flashlight may help in the dark, and you've got to have an escape plan. Rehearse it, because you probably won't be able to see. And now, how to cope with the smoke and gas in a deadly fire.
You're in your bed and you're sound asleep. A fire breaks out in the early morning hours. The smoke fills your room, covers your bed, and the frightening thing is you won't smell the smoke. Most victims of fires are found dead with a thin layer of soot across their faces, because no matter how acrid and bitter the smoke, you won't smell it. The carbon monoxide will put you into a deeper and deeper sleep. It acts as an anesthetic, and the only defense you have against this smoke is a smoke detector.
Where you place your smoke detectors and how many you have can spell the difference between getting out alive or death. Now watch what happens in this home, specially designed by the Nassau County Fire Service Academy. The smoke begins pouring out into the first floor hallway. The alarm in the hall goes off after a minute and a half, but not before the hallway is already beginning to fill with smoke. Upstairs, the smoke detector outside the bedroom doesn't go off for another 2.5 minutes. That's a full 4 minutes after our controlled fire is started.
And that is why the fire experts advise you should have a smoke detector on every level in your home. Here, upstairs in the outside hall. And if you sleep with your bedroom doors closed, you should have a smoke detector in each of your bedrooms.
The bigger the house and the more the rooms, the more the smoke detectors. This one here in the hallway downstairs went off first, gave us added time to get out. But there's one problem. 50% of the smoke detectors in this country don't work. That's because people don't change their batteries, or they take the battery out and forget to replace it. Please, on your birthday or on a holiday, check your batteries and change them. A smoke detector can spell the difference between life and death. So remember, your life and the life of the smoke detector depends on its battery.
The battery in my smoke detector was rusted to the mechanism. It's very embarrassing. You know, and I feel terrible. I never considered it. I never thought that this would ever happen to us.
There's really no excuse for not checking the life of your battery in your smoke detector. There's even a new smoke detector, which you can test with a flashlight that will immediately tell you if the battery is still working. To survive the deadly smoke and gases in a fire, you must have a smoke detector. The more the better, at least one on every level of your home. And you've got to check and change your batteries regularly, or all the smoke detectors in the world won't afford you any protection.
When it comes to dealing with deadly heat, you can take a lesson from firefighters. They live with it at each fire.
All right, move it. Let's go. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving. Get down. Get down.
Unlike the movies, firefighters do not race through burning buildings. They spend their time on their bellies, on their hands, on their knees. They crawl, even with all their protective gear. The heat at head level can spell death, so they must stay low. They're trained to make it second nature to crawl, or any fire they go to could be their last, because down on the floor, not only will you see better, but the temperatures that would kill you if you were standing are survivable down on the floor. How dramatic are the temperature differences? I went into the specially designed training room where temperatures on the floor were 90 degrees. At head height, a blistering 600 degrees. The ceiling even hotter. Instant death if you stand up. Because remember, we said before, temperatures of 150 degrees or higher knock you out and kill you. And even a small fire can heat a room to that within a minute or two.
When you're trapped in a burning building, remember the rule. The rule is to crawl. Don't stand up. The heat overhead is several hundred degrees. It will kill you. It's not the fact that you can't see. And should you stand up, the smoke will knock you unconscious almost within seconds. So crawl. Right now, there's a little smoke here at the bottom. Eyes are tearing. We're getting a little sore throat out of this, but the heat overhead, if I were to stand up right now, would knock me back and probably kill me.
The bottom line is that you have to stay low. You must crawl to safety. Heat kills. You can buy life-saving time by crawling. And there are some other things that will also buy you time in a fire.
The smoke alarm is sounding. There's a fire somewhere in the basement. The thick, blinding, choking smoke is rolling through these hallways and into rooms. You've got to get out alive. And in order to do that, you need to buy time.
And there are two facts you must know in order to buy time. The biggest mistake that you can possibly make when a fire breaks out is to think that you have time. But time in a fire really works against you. You have no time. And most people who die in fires die in the very first 5 minutes. They are trapped because they wasted time. There are two things that can help you buy time in a fire, and knowing them could save your life. If you have a fire extinguisher, how much time should you spend in fighting a fire? Rule 1 is simple. You have 30 seconds to put out the fire if you're right there when it starts with a fire extinguisher in hand. That's all the time you have. So, if you're watching television and smoke and flames suddenly break out, you have 30 seconds to grab a fire extinguisher and put the fire out. If you can't control it in 30 seconds, get out. This fire could get out of control in seconds and you're trapped. But never waste time looking for a fire that's already underway in some other part of the house. Use what little time is left to you. Get you and your family out alive as quickly as possible and call for help.
And last, have an escape plan. Now that sounds easy, but believe me, it isn't. Right after the broadcast, try this. Find a room, your favorite room that you know intimately. Now, with the help of a partner or by yourself, close your eyes, turn around several times. Now, with your eyes closed, get down on the floor. You have an escape plan. Try to find your way out with your eyes closed. See how long it takes you. Now, remember, this is an imaginary fire.
In a real fire, this is what you'll have to contend with. There'll be obstacles in your way. You have to know where to go. The smoke is black, it's blinding, and it's choking. But I know where the escape plan takes me, along the wall. I've rehearsed this many times. You must do the same thing. The kitchen should be just here, yes. Here it is. Linoleum floor, carpeting. This is the kitchen. The exit is just 10 feet ahead, along the side wall here. I can't see it yet. It's still too black and the heat has got me down on the floor, so crawl. There's the exit. Now I can get out. You must have that escape plan, and you must rehearse it.
So we've learned that if you're right there when a fire breaks out and you have a fire extinguisher, you've got about 30 seconds to put out the fire. If you can't, get out. And don't forget, you've got to have an escape plan because time is against you. Along with a fire extinguisher, another important tool that most people don't know about is the door. It will help keep the flames, the heat, and the smoke out. Listen to this message.
A fire breaks out on the first floor of the two-family house. Door. The woman quickly leaves to call the fire department. Door. And 2 people die upstairs, overcome by smoke. Door. A man smoking in bed starts a fire. The door. Leaves the bedroom, rushes to a phone. The door. And before the fire department gets there, the door. The rest of his house burns down. The door. Is there one single act that could have been done? Close the door. To help prevent this needless loss of life and property. Close the door. What should these people have done? Close the door. Do you know that a door is one of the best pieces of firefighting and life-saving equipment? Close the door. And if you leave a room that is on fire, close the door. If you simply close the door, it will help stop the fire and smoke from spreading too quickly. Close the door.
We hope you never experience a fire, but statistics tell us that most of us will. It is frightening, but you've learned some of the basic facts about surviving in fires. And if you plan to get out alive, you can. Others have, and you will too.
Knowing what to do saved my life. I mean, I know that now. But knowing, when I saw the people in there using every bit of energy they had to panic, every bit of energy to scream, not 1 ounce of energy was put into any thought. That's what killed some of those people.
My sister opened the door and I could see a lot of smoke coming in, and that's how I knew that's how I was sure that there was a fire in Katie's room. And she grabbed my hand. She grabbed my hand and I took a deep breath of what oxygen was left in my room, and I holded it until I could. I holded it as long as I could until I couldn't hold it anymore, and then I breathed the smoke, and I ran downstairs and I shaked my brother a lot, and I almost yelled in his ear, and I said, "Chris, wake up! There's a fire in Katie's room."
The child takes the cigarette lighter, and it has a little wheel, and then it becomes a toy, and they zoom, they run it along the ground, and they see the spark, and they go boom. Then they take their little fingers and put it on the trigger, and they go boom, boom, and now they have a fire. And unlike a match, that match will go out sometimes, but this fire will not go out. And they'll go under a bed or in a closet, and then the fire will get going, and it'll be out of control, and they don't know what to do. They don't know enough to run because they're so young. And what happens, the fire gets out of control. And that combination, the most destructive force in nature, fire, and children, is a losing combination.
I took the elevator, not knowing there's a fire. Knowing the first rule, of course, is when you know there's a fire, you don't take the elevator. But I didn't know there was a fire. And when I got off on the 7th floor, the entire elevator door, the door opened and the entire elevator filled with smoke, so thick and so black that you could not see your hand in front of your face. But immediately I dropped to the floor, so my mouth and head were only about inches from the floor. And there I could see and I could breathe. And at that time I was banging on the alarm of the elevator, which I think the power was going off, but it did close, and it crept down to the 6th floor and opened partly where someone pulled me out. But the smoke was so thick you could not breathe. It is the most frightening experience you can imagine.
First there's nothing, all of a sudden, intense heat. I didn't feel pain right away, though I guess you're in shock. I felt pain afterward. You feel intense heat. Well, there's no way to describe it. I mean, put your finger on a match and you get a little idea, but your whole body is engulfed in this heat.
Plan to Get Out Alive is brought to you as a public service by McDonald's and First Alert, the leader in fire safety products.
Nobody plans on having a house fire, but you can plan to get out alive. And you can do it now. Install smoke detectors. It's a small price to pay for something that can save your life. Practice home fire drills with your family, with your roommates. Know 2 escape routes from every room. And remember, don't panic. If you've planned ahead, you won't get burned. Plan to get out alive. Now. We at McDonald's care about your life. So write for a free brochure at McDonald's Fire Safety, P.O. Box 11189, Chicago, Illinois 60611.
Nearly 1/3 of the smoke detectors in American homes are not working because of dead or missing batteries. In a fire, they'd be worthless. That's why First Alert created the new light test smoke detector. No smoke detector you can buy is easier to test. You don't even have to stand up. Just wave a flashlight at the gold button, and you know it's working. The new light test smoke detector. Only First Alert gives you this extra protection.
Welcome to a room unlike any you've ever seen. A room where the light comes on automatically when you enter, then goes off when you leave. Where you never have to flip a switch, pull a string, or wish you had an extra hand. Every room could be this convenient if you add a First Alert sensor switch. It automatically turns the lights in any room on and off. Sensor switch from First Alert. Isn't there room for one in your home? Look for the complete sensor switch line.